Good morning, day one of ecology. And for that, I want everybody to take a look at the whiteboard behind me. For the most part, I got it right, writing everything backwards so you can read it. Kind of messed up on the S, but whatever. We're just going to move on from that. So every living thing needs energy. So how do they get it? Ultimately, the biggest part of all of ecology is answering this question. Trying to go through and understand the complexity that is existing out in nature in order for organisms to get the materials that they need and try to avoid becoming the material for something else. Be real glad we're at the top of the food chain. All right, so let's start into this. Our introduction into ecology, ladies and gentlemen, fantasticness. This is our study of the environment and the interactions within it. Now, those interactions are what's going to be the driving force of most of this. And if this sounds like a lot of stuff, it is. It is an unbelievable amount of stuff. Actual ecological studies take long periods of time with a lot of people, and we're going to see kind of why. Now, one of the first things I want us to do, though, is we're going to do a little bit of practice. All right, I'm going to show you a picture. And I want you to try to catalog what are some living things that have the 8 characteristics of life from way back at the beginning of the year. And what are the non-living things that do not have all 8 characteristics. All right, ready? I'll give you about 15 seconds to really look at the video, the image. If you need to, pause it. All right. So looking through this, you catalog out the living things, you catalog out the non-living things, and then we kind of line them up. Our living things, the bear, the deer, eagles, the producers too, our plants also, the trees and the grass, squirrels, rabbits, there was a bug on the railing. The non-living thing, well, that's going to be the dirt, the air, rocks, the rails, right? Things that are not alive, that are not composed of DNA. They do not obtain and use materials. They do not reproduce, right? They don't have those 8 characteristics of life. Now, this is important to be able to define these two because the difference between biotic and abiotic is something that we need to know in ecology. Biotic factors will be our living things. It starts with that same prefix, bio, Latin for living or life. And our non-living things are abiotic. Remember, if they start with that capital A, it means not. So this is a not living thing. Keep those terms in mind. They will be key for the entirety of this unit. We're going to see a lot of other terms, though. Now, hopefully, most of these you're already familiar with. Biotic versus abiotic. Autotroph. Autotrophs are our producers. They are our plants. Heterotrophs are consumers. They are our animals. Auto means self. Troph is feed, so self-feeding. Hetero, we learned that at the beginning of the year. Hetero as a prefix means different, eating. So we need to eat something different. And then you also have things like decomposers, like fungus and bacteria, who work to recycle materials. They are also a heterotroph. They eat something other than themselves. And finally, the term niche. Niche is going to be the job that a living thing has in its environment. And for a lot of living things, the niche will be the most important aspect of their survival. So when we look at a pond like this, can you identify the biotics? Can you identify the abiotics? Can you identify autotrophs? Can you identify heterotrophs? Hopefully, none of that was too bad for you. Now, this is a video. You can find this whole slideshow linked up in Schoology. Then you can go watch it. I will not show it now because then they'll block this video. And yeah, moving on. We're going to see that most things that we've looked at thus far build up, right? We started with cells. They were the simplest, smallest living thing. And then the cells built up to become our organs and our organ systems and that made up the human body, right? We're building. Well, we're going to be building here too. In ecology, we also build. But now we're going from the organism, which was the top end before, that's now our smallest. And now an organism is just one individual. The population is bigger than that, and that's all of one individual species. The community will now be an even larger group of all the species that live in an area. The ecosystem will be now all of the communities that exist in one area. And then finally, the biosphere is the entire freaking planet. So these are the layers of organization, and really pay attention to the idea of a population versus a community, because that's going to be where the Regents tries to stick it to you. So here's the individual, one fish. The population of that lake is all of those same fish that live there. The community of that lake will be not just those fish, but then the other fish and the other living things that live there, producer and consumer alike. The ecosystem will now be all of those living things plus all of the non-living things, all the way up to the biosphere, which just contains the everything. Now, why do we need to know this? We need to know this because all of ecology is centered around this idea. It's centered around the idea of energy flow. How do living things get the energy that they need to survive? The process is pretty straightforward, the sun. Ultimately, for planet Earth, it's a safe bet to say the sun. The blazing nuclear reactor millions of miles away, all right, not millions, but a very long way away in the sky, hundreds of thousands. And the energy that comes to us in the form of its light is captured by our autotrophs, those self-feeders. And they use that in order to make their own food. We know this as sugar. Carbohydrates, one of our 4 organic molecules that we need in the primary source of energy for living things. That is then eaten by the heterotrophs because we can't make our own food. We must get our sugar, we must get our supplies by consuming the body of something else. At this point, all of you will need to memorize this equation. CO2 plus H2O with sunlight makes C6H12O6 and O2. So carbon dioxide plus water with sunlight makes sugar and oxygen. Now, our normal way to show the movement of energy through an ecosystem is by a food chain. It literally just tracks the energy. So what we're saying here is the energy of this grass is eaten by the beetle. It goes into the beetle. The energy of the beetle goes into the frog. The energy of the frog goes into the hawk. So we are tracking energy starting here in the producer and moving through this chain, just like links in a chain. One connects to the next. And that is where we're going to stop for right now. That is where we are going to move in then to today's lab, which is the Darien Panama Food Web Lab. You're going to look at food chains. You're going to look at food webs. There's already a video posted for you. I hope it helps. Ladies and gentlemen, Have a great day. I'll see you in class. And once again, we'll have videos posted up here every day that I present new information, because I'm not using pictures of human organs anymore. So YouTube isn't going to get all kinds of pissy about it. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. Have a great day.